Okay, now I think it's time to start our section. Thank you all to participate the 2024 SITL series the second section. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. In Taiwan now is a evening, right? I'm Robin Daniel from Taiwan National Taiwan Normal University as well SITL board members. Today we have two presentations. In the original order, Nigel Green is first, but now it's changed. So the first presentation is Domenico Monacis and Dario Corolla. I think Domenico from University of Foggia. It's right? Foggia.
Yeah.
It's Italian? Okay, Foggia.
Yeah.
Foggia. Foggia. Okay. He's a contractor professor in theory and methodology of human movement. And Dario is from University of Salento. Salento, right? Salento.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Italia. He's a professor in the theory and the methodology of human movement also. The title of a presentation is Spectrum of Teaching Styles and Physical Fitness. What are the implications from PE teachers? You have 20 minutes to talk about your research and have 5 minutes to discuss. Okay, Domenico, are you ready? If you are ready, can you start the presentation? Thank you. Please. Yeah.
Thank you. Please, let me give feedback.
Hey, Domenico, disappear. Oh,
Oh, he's coming back in. I think he
Yeah.
might have accidentally disconnected.
okay.
I can see it. I cannot hear you. You are muted.
Okay. Can you see me now? Can you
Yes.
hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I don't know what happened. And okay, thank you, Professor Robin, for excuse me. And hi to everybody. Firstly, I would like to thanks the Spectrum Institute for giving us the possibility to present and share our research during this workshop seminars. I'm Domenico Monacis, and today I will present together with Professor Dario Colella the results of a series of studies conducted in Italy regarding the integration of the spectrum of teaching styles in physical education curriculum in Italy. But please, before starting, please let me introduce a little bit about us. And I'm Professor De Rocorella is full professor in methods and didactics of motor activities at the Department of Biological and Environmental Science and Technologies at the University of Salento. And I'm a researcher in methods and didactics of motor activities at the Department of Wellbeing, Nutrition and Sports at Pegaso Telemarketing University. So very recently, I changed my affiliation because I become a researcher. So this is the reason why I'm no more at the University of Foggia. And our research address concern the integration of spectrum teaching styles in physical education curriculum in Italy. The teacher training, both for primary school physical education and teacher, and in primary school in Italy, we have the generalist teacher not physical education teachers, and in secondary school for physical education teachers. The analysis of the teaching learning methodology of motor skill learning linked to the integration of technology in physical education curriculum, and linked to the nonlinear didactic approach and pedagogy. The analysis of levels of physical activity, physical fitness, and factors related to motor development in children and adolescents, and multi-component intervention for health promotion at school. And today's the presentation will have the leitmotif to present and describe the evolution of 3 different studies conducted in Italy, according to the spectrum of teaching styles. And the final one is related to the enhancement of physical fitness through the use and the integration of the spectrum of teaching styles in PE curriculum. So let's start from the first one. The analysis of the scriptor of the first research question that we have when we approach to the spectrum teaching styles is the promotion of different students' way of learning depends only on the motor task that the physical education teacher proposes, and the organizational modes in which, in the organizational way in which these motor tasks are proposed, or there's something else. And in this sense, how to propose a motor task, how the physical education teacher should propose the specific motor task, and how to propose different way of learning when during physical education activities. So the first study has been conducted on 47 physical education teachers, 20 male and 27 female. And the first study is aimed at providing a series of descriptors for each teaching styles in primary school children. And descriptors of teaching behavior were carried out during a research action meeting for a total of 10 meetings per 2 years for each ones. And after drafting a list of descriptors for each teaching styles, the teacher were asked to develop and then realize the teaching learning episodes or teaching learning scenarios in physical education, proposing the same motor task with different teaching styles. And after that, a critical and reciprocal observation was conducted to assess and evaluate the proposed motor task. And in this sense, the definition of the descriptor of a teacher's behavior led teachers and led us to provide a more specific analysis for more specific motor task analysis, and reveal the ways in which the motor tasks are proposed in order to promote different and differentiating students' way of learning. The analysis of motor tasks is also linked with the analysis of the factor or motor competence that are mainly involved in that specific motor task, and identify the different areas and different kind of teacher mediation when proposing a motor task. So in figure 1, we can figure 1 summarize the descriptors that we carry out in this study according to the teacher's behavior. So what behavior we expect that teachers should have when use, for example, the practice size, and students' behavior. For example, what expected behavior we can see when, or we can anticipate when proposing a motor task with the practice size, and as well as for the guided discovery. So what are the expected behavior that physical education teacher should have when propose a motor task in this way? And this study led us to highlight some difficulties and some difficulties for physical education teacher, for both generalists and physical education teachers, when identify the descriptors of teacher behavior and when learning episodes and when implementing the motor task. And in the second study, we analyzed the relationship between the self-perception use of teaching styles according to years of service and academic training. In fact, the analysis of teaching in physical education concerned the self-assessment of teaching styles with particular reference, with frequency, with weight. Sometimes some teaching styles were used. And at the same time, some findings reveal that the teacher's perception of teaching styles differed according to personal knowledge and competence related to the use of teaching styles. So our aim is to, our research questions were, does year of service and academic training determine different self-perception of teaching styles during physical education lesson? And on the other hand, does the perceived use of teaching styles differ significantly during physical education teacher practice? This study involved a total of 83 physical education teachers. At the beginning, the teacher involved were 120, but only 83 completed the whole study. And male were 41 and female were 52. And they were divided according to the years of service from 0 to 4, 5 to 10, and over 10 years of service, and according to academic training. In this sense, in Italy, until 2002, we have the Higher Institute of Physical Education that is not linked to university. So the Higher Institute of Physical Education concerned with a sort of certification for physical education, but it is not not give degree. While from 2002, we have the degree in Faculty of Motor Sports Science at university. So when we developed the design protocol for this study, we consider also this difference. And the main result of this study. In this study, the teacher were asked to answer a digital version of a questionnaire investigating the self-perception use of teaching styles and how often they use different and each teaching styles during the last month. This is an adapted version of a validated questionnaire. And according to the findings, no significant difference were found according to years of service, and academic training appears to be significantly associated with the use of common styles, practice, inclusion, and wide discovery. The perception related to the use of common styles present the highest significant association with academic training. And there's a significant prevalence of teachers who prefer to use often common styles rather than practice and convergent discovering production styles. And the self-teaching styles is the last used. And these results can be discussed according to all of findings in literature, according to which there's a significant preference for reproduction styles rather than the production ones. The significant preference for the use of common style, practical and reciprocal styles, while discovery teaching styles are less used. And another important aspect is that the senior physical education teacher failed to use a wide range of teaching styles during their lesson, preferring the practice styles due to its ability to facilitate activities and provide immediate feedback. And what about physical fitness? When finished this second study, we I and Professor Colella, we reflect on the possible integration of the spectrum of teaching styles to enhance physical fitness. And we started again from what we know about spectrum. Spectrum represents an pedagogical approach, a pedagogical model in physical education. And it can be considered an approach centered around decision making between the teachers and the learner about how, when, and why of their pedagogical decision. So, if we consider the spectrum as a pedagogical decision, we cannot consider the relation between teacher, students, students, and teacher, students environment. So we analyze different kind and different topics related to the research address for that integrating the spectrum of teaching styles, and we have different topic. We highlight different topic. The first one is related to the perceived use of teaching styles. The second one is related to the effect of children's motor skill learning. The third one is related to goal orientation, motivation, and participation in physical education. And the last one concerned with adherence to physical activity during lifetime. So we noticed that there was a lack of knowledge about the relation between spectrum of teaching styles and physical fitness. And this slide shows a personal belief of physical education teachers that we pointed out during structured and unstructured, semi-structured interview for physical education teachers in Italy. And these characters represent famous Italian comic. And the character on the left is the protagonist, and that on the right is his consciousness. So reproduction teaching styles are mainly viewed in and are mainly linked to the engagement and physical activity enhancement, while production teaching styles are linked and viewed in relation to the enhancement of creativity, divergent thinking, or the social, emotional, and affective domains of children. So in this third study, we would like to demonstrate and analyze how the spectrum of teaching styles can be used for enhancing physical fitness in primary school children. And this study involved 4 primary school classes, and children were randomly recruited from schools that participated in a SBAM project that is a regional project in Apulia region in southern Italy, aimed at providing and improving physical activity, eating habits, and healthy habits in primary school children. A total of 124 children aged between 8 to 10 years old were involved, male 62 and female 62. And the sample was divided in experimental group and control group. 2 classes assigned to experimental group and 2 classes assigned to control group. And physical education lessons based on the variation of teaching styles, both production and reproduction teaching styles, were proposed to the experimental group by expert graduates with master's degree in preventive and adaptive motor activities, together with the generalist teacher, while the control group perform physical education lessons with the generalist teachers only. And the graduates in motor science and in the experimental group were trained on terms of spectrum of teaching styles and on the variation of teaching styles before starting the study. And Moreover, before the intervention, the learning units, the organizational methods, and the topics to be covered during the experimental intervention were shared both with the experimental group and both with the control group. And according to the definition of physical literacy and the definition of the areas of physical literacy, the topics covered during this intervention were the following: the motor skills and small tools, space-time executive variants, group games and space-time orientation, expressiveness and dramatization, and motor coordination. The interventions took place between January to May 2022 for a total of 2 hours for 16 weeks for 32 hours of total intervention. And the assessment provided the following physical fitness tests: standing long jump and simple tool, 20-meter speed, and were also used 2 validative questionnaires to assess physical self-efficacy and enjoyment. And the assessment was performed during curricular physical education lessons 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after the 5-month intervention. And these are the main results. So we can notice significant improvement in both control group and both experimental group for physical fitness components. But however, there's no significant interaction according to the intervention group and the time for standing long jump and very simple throw. 20-meter sprint always analysis show a significant interaction per time effect with the low effect size, and physical self-perception and enjoyment significantly increase in both experimental group but not in the control group, and significant interaction effect was found for both variables with small effect size. So this led us to conclude that both experimental group and control group improved their fitness. So teaching styles in physical education curriculum can be useful for improved physical education and for improved physical fitness, and also factors related to the practice of physical activity, such as self-efficacy and enjoyment. However, several this study show that teaching styles have different but complementary effects on physical and social and psychological domains of children. However, the following limitation can be underlined. The sample's age, we consider only the sample's age between 8 to 10 years old, and the age has not been considered as covariate due to the small sample size. The effect of BMI, so normal weight, the impact and the effect of being normal weight, overweight, obese has not been analyzed. Small group. This was only a pilot study conducted in southern Italy. So we need a higher sample size to generalize these results. And we cannot consider the retention effect, so we didn't assess physical fitness after 1, 2, or 3 months when finished the activity and assessment. So I hope to finish my presentation in time and not. I hope to finish in time, and I'm here to any questions.
Hi, thank you, Domenico, perfect. And thank you for your amazing presentation. It's conclude 3 researches and very, very excellent. And then we expect to discuss any questions, feedback, or comments, please.
Someone wrote a question in the chat.
Yes, Professor Monacis, thank you for your presentation. I mean, yes, it's very good presentation. I really enjoy it, and I think, can you talk about more about who can be a PE teacher in Italy? Because in your first one and second study, you talk about the teachers in Italy, and also, can you share more about the how can teachers, PE teachers in Italy understand the spectrum? Maybe you can use the style E or F as an example. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, in Italy, we have a very lack of a lack of integration of specialized physical education teachers in primary school, because in Italy we have in primary school we have the generalist teacher. So the generalist teacher, for example, maths, history, Italian, or foreign language teacher that is also the physical education teacher, but doesn't have the specific competence of the physical education teachers. But recently, there was about 2-3 times ago, we have the integration of physical education teachers with master's degree in sports science or physical activity and motor activities in primary school. So I think it is quite important, because we all know the effect of structured physical activity and physical education, especially during the developmental age, during infancy and childhood. So I think it is a very very important. And when regarding the knowledge of spectrum of teaching styles in Italy, we have a lack of knowledge, because in secondary school activities are more related to sports activity. So it is quite difficult to implement the spectrum of teaching styles when we talk about sports. So we have a sort of mismatch between the primary school and the first grade of secondary school. We pass to generalist teacher to specialized teacher in sports. So I think that it is the basic motor competence, the physical literacy. There is there's a lack in this sense. We have a lack of this process linked to the physical literacy and the basic physical literacy in children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second question is get the answer. Are you okay?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Professor Monacis.
I think we have still time to one more question.
Akis has had his hand raised for a minute.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone from Greece. I would like to ask whether there are any questions for physical education teachers that they were involved in spectrum teaching styles. How did they feel before the beginning of practicing the program, and how did they feel after they practiced the program? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for Professor for your question. And they feel disoriented because they are very because they always work with children in one way, and one way is linked to the practice or command styles. So they have a very limited vision about physical education, about the relationship that there's between teacher and the students. And after improving the program, they can prove, but they can have the possibility to see that there's a different way to approach children, and then that there are different ways to propose motor tasks and to provide different communication and different different kind of communication between the teacher and the students, and then that it could be it's possible to have different kind of integration between and interaction between the teacher and the students. So they experience also different kinds of behavior that children didn't show before.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Due to the time limitation, we should move to next one. If have any other question, and after the second presentation, we can still take discuss continuous. So now second presenter is Nigel Green, come from England, and Nigel is the chairman of International Physical Literacy Association. As far as I know, he traveled all over the world to promote physical literacy. Today, the topic of the presentation is a Mosston spectrum through a physical literacy lens. Hi, Nigel. Welcome to you. And when you are ready, you can start your presentation, please.
Fabulous. Well, first of all, apologies, because I was under the impression I was starting in about 30 minutes time. And obviously I'd got the times wrong with the for whatever reason, but we're here now. What's also great is that I can see Robin and Min, who are from Taiwan, and Shraddha from India. And there's also a lot of other people from different countries, and I think that is a wonderful thing to be able to do, is to share our experiences with people across the world who've got that same passion. So without further ado, I shall crack on with it, as we say. And as Robin has just said, my aim is to reflect on the spectrum from a physical literacy lens, because many of you will be aware physical literacy is a concept that has developed significantly over the last few years. And it was interesting listening to Domenico from Italy. I get the impression that his understanding is similar to a lot of people, in that they think physical literacy is very much about motor competency, and particularly in the early years. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that's not the case. Physical literacy is a more holistic concept, as I will explain briefly, but only briefly, because I want to get on to how it links into Mosston's. So as you can see here, you've got the IPLA definition of physical literacy, where it's described as the motivation, confidence, physical competence, knowledge, understanding to value and take responsibility for engagement in physical activity throughout our lives. I think this is the important thing. It's our disposition or our relationship with physical activity throughout our lives. And it's how we value and engage in physical activity that's important. That's our physical literacy. So it's from birth to death, and it's how we engage. Now, our physical literacy is very much influenced by a number of aspects you can see on the screen there. And these aspects are influenced by our capabilities, our genes, what we start life with, but also our experiences throughout life. And the important thing here is that each one of us is very different. I'm actually tall, even though you can't see it on the screen. I have had different experiences as a child, as an adult, as have you. And all of these experiences have impacted on different domains within me as they have within you. And I would imagine part of the reason you're on here is because for you, through your experiences, you've gained a certain amount of physical competence, certain amount of knowledge and understanding, confidence, and motivation in perhaps at least one, but probably a number of different activities that have encouraged you to be physically active throughout your life. And that is the important thing. That's what physical literacy is about. I often use this analogy of a climbing frame, because I think back to when I was at school, we did have a climbing frame like the one on the left. And as a young child, I used to watch in admiration as the older children gradually got to stand on the top, to hang upside down, to drop from a certain height. And as a young child, I couldn't do that. But I had that desire to want to improve, to learn, to listen. And I was fortunate to have people in there who would help me and encourage me. And gradually I got to climb higher, to balance, to swing upside down and so on, and do everything everyone else was doing. So that was my personal development. And my personal development, like yours, is unique. So as soon as you're born, whatever your parents do with you, how they interact with you, how much free time they give you, helps you engage in your world around you from a physical point of view. And I'd like to think that when children then go to school, and we know that school is the most important part in an individual's development from a physical activity point of view, they have a range of different experiences, and hopefully these are positive experiences. And it's likely that they learn, they develop their skills, their knowledge and understanding, and then they start to enjoy different activities and want to do them more. And the wider range of activities they experience, the more they're likely to want to engage and embrace in them, which empowers them and enriches their lives. What's also important to note is that it's not just the school that influences an individual. Families and friends, peer groups influence individuals. So do the natural environment, the spaces in which we live, government policies and strategies, and also our local and national and international cultures. So we're very much influenced. But for the purpose of this presentation, I want to think about the teacher. And from a teacher, I can also fit in a coach, because teachers and coaches often operate in similar environments and usually with groups of individuals, no matter how young or how old. And I was in India a number of years ago, and I was watching a lesson with other teachers watching this lesson. And the teacher used very much, as we know, command style. He told the children what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And this was the one strategy that he had. And he continued with that strategy throughout the lesson. And it got me thinking, and I said to the teachers at the time, it's like going into a battle. If you went into a battle with a stick, and only a stick, that was your only weapon, you wouldn't be very successful. But if you had a stick, a knife, a gun, a rifle, a tank, an aeroplane, an aircraft carrier, and you chose to use that particular implement at a particular time for a particular task, then you would be far more successful. And what I refer to now when I'm working with teachers is a toolbox. we all know that if you have a spanner and you're trying to undo a screw, then you're not going to be very successful. Likewise, if you're trying to cut through a piece of wood and all you've got is a hammer, again, you're not going to be very successful. So from a teacher's point of view, what's important is choosing the right tools for the right job at the right time with the right children. And to me, this is where Mosston's comes in. Now, I don't intend to spend any time explaining the spectrum to you, because I'm sure you're fully aware of it. But what I'm going to do is go through the spectrum and indicate how, for me, this links to physical literacy. I will also add that as a training teacher, I became aware of Mosston's and I used some of the strategies. As I then became a teacher trainer, i.e. my work at university with teachers, I used Mosston's a lot because I wanted teachers to understand the variety of styles that they could draw from. And similarly, I've done quite a lot of work in India and Taiwan and other countries. And I'm really passionate that teachers need to be able to understand how the different strategies can help influence the quality and the variety of practice from teachers and get good results with the children that want them to be physically active, that help them learn, that encourage them to a life of physical activity. So that's how I see the spectrum fitting in. So I'm going to spend some time going through the spectrum and sort of draw out the physical literacy aspects. Command is one aspect, one style I see very regularly. As we know, teacher suggests or states what needs to be done, and we're looking for an immediate feedback from the child. Now, actually, this is an efficient use of time, and it does allow for safe environments to be created. And from a physical literacy point of view, children want to be safe. They want to know that they are safe. So that's good. From a teacher's point of view, establishing control, particularly in risky activities, is important. And again, the child will feel more confident in that environment. They might feel more motivated. They might be enthused by the enthusiasm of the teacher, particularly in activities like aerobics or activities where the teacher's trying to drive their enthusiasm. And this might encourage them to be involved more readily rather than perhaps being more hesitant. So command has some very good traits. From a practice point of view, as we know, the teacher is looking to develop a particular skill. And for this, it's important that the teacher provides clear guidance and structure. So the teaching points are focused on. And what's also important is that the skill that's being asked to be developed is relevant to the stage of development for that student. And it might be that within a class, you provide a range of different challenges, different practices, and the students can choose that, and that'll filter in later on to the inclusion style. So some of the styles actually have a meshing point of view. But the good thing about this style is that the student is allowed that freedom and that confidence to practice by themselves or with a partner, with the knowledge that they'll get some feedback and that'll help them learn and understand what they're trying to do. If the practice is set right, if the challenge is right, then the students will be motivated and encouraged to engage. And again, that depends on the quality of the task and the differentiation. The knowledge and understanding should develop as the teacher's providing the feedback and the child is getting their own personal feedback. And it's this autonomy that the child has to practice as hard as they like. And I often link this back to my days when I used to kick a ball against a wall. Football was a passion in those early years. And I would spend hours kicking the ball against the wall. Just practicing is absolutely fine. Moving on to reciprocal. I actually find reciprocal is one of my favorite styles, if I'm honest, that I've used throughout my years as a teacher. Whether it's working in pairs or working in threes, usually focusing on a particular skill. The important thing here for me is the fact that we have this observation and feedback. So the child who is observing and providing the feedback is getting real benefit, just as the practitioner or the person doing the task is. So the one who's getting the feedback is having to think. They've been given certain points to reflect on, so they need to think. So from a cognitive point of view, they're developing their knowledge and understanding. They're developing their critical reflection of the person they're observing, but they're also developing their social skills about how they interact and work with others, how they provide feedback, looking at the positives first, encouraging the positive, and then providing a few things that their partners or in their pairs can work on to develop. And this communication, this social aspect is really good. I remember having a very talented swimmer in a group, and I thought, how can I help move this young lad on? He was swimming every morning of the week. He was in an international squad, and the other children were all sorts of different levels. And what I decided to do was to take him outside and be my assistant overall. And he then took on a reciprocal role, working as a mini coach effectively. And that really improved him from a social point of view. And I think that's the real benefit of the reciprocal style. So from a self-check point of view, we know that the teacher provides a checklist. And again, it's usually in relation to perhaps learning a skill. And then they have that time to reflect, to practice, and to reflect on this criteria. And again, this has the benefit of reinforcing their knowledge and understanding, getting them to be critically reflective, having ownership of their own learning and that independence to practice. And again, this gives them that motivation and that confidence. That clarity of the learning task is really important. And I do think, certainly recently, the increasing use of videos, whether that's handheld video or mobile phones, as we've got it, tablets, allow us to provide that feedback. And so again, it enhances the quality of learning. From an inclusion style point of view, as we know, the teacher sets up different challenges and allows the child to choose what level they want to challenge themselves. And choice is really important. I actually took my goddaughter swimming yesterday, and she's swimming at a very high level. And I was asking her about football and playing football at school. Now, she plays at the weekend for a girls' team, but she won't play at school in the mixed team because she doesn't want to be embarrassed. So she's choosing where she engages, and people choose for different reasons. And I know the high jump is always used as a great example, the slanted rope or the slanted elastic, as I used to use. And that allows children to challenge themselves at the right level. If the child knows they can probably just get over the lowest level, that's a motivation to challenge them. If they're successful, they know they can just move up a little bit. Whereas for some other child, they want to perhaps go at the middle or the higher level. That gives them the opportunity to be challenged at their own level. They can then develop their knowledge and understanding at that particular level. And it gives them that confidence that they're not going to be sat out when they've knocked the high jump bar off while everybody else carries on as the bar uses up. I used to do this when I did triple jump at school. I would set out lots of different cones at different distances, and the children could choose the distance they felt more comfortable in. And that way, the children are active, they're working, and they've got that opportunity to develop at the level they want to choose at. So moving on to the productive styles, and I think problem solving again is a fabulous tool, and the different variations in Mosston allow you to do different things. As we know, the teacher poses a problem. It could be to a specific invasion game or whatever. And then they guide the student through questioning, through trial and error to discover specific responses. I think the challenge here is the cognitive aspect, but there's also the social aspect. Getting children to think, to trial things is a really good way of learning. We learn by making mistakes. So let's get the children learning by giving them tasks that they can't perhaps do straight away. Working together with others. This is a real life skill. Communicating, sharing, coming up with ideas. These are all important aspects of the guided discovery. Leadership, teamwork are really important in these social productive styles. With the convergent one, as we know, we're looking to work towards a specific outcome. It might be how to generate flight in long jump, and then we're asking students questions. Again, the idea of getting them to experiment, to talk to each other, to think of different ways of doing it, but work, in this case, working towards the sort of response that we're looking for a particular problem. It is a very rich way of a child learning. Similarly, the divergent one, to me, opens that creativity. You're posing that problem, you're giving children that opportunity to trial and error, to be creative, to think about different strategies, to work together. This leadership, this teamwork, this communication are all important here. An example I've got here is the rugby, which where I'm from in Wigan is a very important sport. And I've enjoyed giving this 2v1 task or a 2v2 task to different groups of children and just standing back and watching them try to work out different ways of overcoming their opponents and scoring a try in different situations. So it's a really positive learning environment that will be motivational and encouraging, as well as developing that knowledge and understanding. As the student is able and the teacher has the opportunity, then encouraging individuals to develop programs by themselves. So, for example, asking children to devise fitness programs based on specific needs or goals encourages this independence. And as we know, we want children to be independent adults, to choose what they do from a physical activity point of view, to possibly think about their own fitness at different times and know what they can do. The beauty of this model, however, is that the teacher's always there. The student can go back to the teacher and say, I'm not quite sure on this, or have you any advice on that? And the teacher can support them. And it's this knowing that they're supported and encouraged, but also having that freedom to work individually is shifting that balance to give that independence and self-confidence to prepare that student for physical activity for life. I think both the learner initiated and the self-teaching styles are things we don't see as much of in schools particularly. But I often use dance and gymnastics. In the UK, students who do exam qualifications at schools will probably do things like dance and gymnastics. And here they will decide what sort of sequence they want to do. They might have certain criteria that they have to include, but they can be more flexible in how they do this. And again, it's this independence it's giving them the confidence, the motivation, the challenge at the right level. And the students will then draw on their physical competence, knowledge and understanding, confidence and motivation to put it into effect. And as I say, although it's not used as much in PE, I think it really does develop the lifelong skills that we're looking for from a physical education point of view. So summing up, really, I think the important thing is, first of all, as a teacher, you have got to challenge and support learning. You've got to find the right zone, and we talk about the proximal zone of proximal development for each individual. And there's no magic recipe, but as we know, Mosston's give us a range of styles that we can draw on. Again, think of that image of the lady with the hands. They can draw from a variety of strategies and then make the most of the child. What we need to do is we need to think what we want to accomplish, how we can get that accomplished. And I think that's where the strategies come in. And then how I'll know if it's accomplished and was it successfully accomplished. So setting the right learning outcomes and objectives, deciding on the right teaching strategies that we want to use, and then implementing them. And as Mosston's always said, not being afraid to change them and modify them and draw on other strategies if we feel the need. I've got one final slide because I'm conscious of time, and I've put the sort of key principles of physical literacy more generally for you here on this image. And what I want you to do is think about the styles I've just been talking about and think, how do they develop individuals holistically? How are they inclusive? And again, you know, I can think of styles that do that straight away. How do they develop belonging? How are they personalized? How are they meaningful and provide autonomy? How do they develop motivation, confidence, physical competence, knowledge and understanding? And how they provide opportunities for mastery or challenge or meaningful goals, whilst at the same time providing responsibility and opportunities for reflection and monitoring of progress. And I think, to me, the beauty of Mosston's is it allows you to do all of that. And if you draw from those, and I will also say to teachers, it's not just Mosston Spectrum. There are a whole load of different models, such as sport education, teaching games for understanding, cooperative learning, that you can draw from. But to me, Mosston's is your base. And if you understand how you can use those strategies and how they impact or potentially can impact on children, then you're going to have a better chance of making a difference and helping people on their physical literacy journey. So I'll finish there.
Yeah, thank you.
Time, Robin.
Yeah, I'm so excited about hybrid with PL and spectrum teaching. There's a future trend, I know. There's so many examples of different sports items to align teaching style. It's amazing. This is a new experience for me. Thank you for your fantastic presentation. And next, we look forward to discuss. Any questions and comments? Please. Nico. Nikos, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Robin. Nigel, thank you very much for the presentation. I do personally think that the strongest link between the spectrum framework as a pedagogical framework and physical theory is on the relation between the developmental channels on one side of the spectrum and the elements and the key principles of physical literacy framework. Thank you very much for your presentation. one thing, I don't know if you would like to comment, is of course, I think we need more research in order to perhaps make decisions as teachers on which elements, for example, of physical literacy are mostly affected by a particular teaching style, for example. Do you have plans to work on that direction in IPLA?
I would probably turn it the other way around. I from a physical literacy point of view, and this is what I say to the teachers, your role is to understand the children and understand where they are at from a physical, affective, cognitive, social point of view. And I talk about core tasks. I'm not going to go to this in detail. Authentic core tasks, look it up if you're not aware what that is. But by giving children a challenge and stepping back and observing them working, you can then realize that actually that child over there has got some very good physical skills. That child works really well with another child. That child stood out a bit, so they're lacking in confidence and motivation and so on. So first of all, get to understand your class, or whatever your team, if you're working with as a coach, and then think, what do I need to do to help them move on? And which styles could I choose to help me do that? And I think that process with the bubbles I said at the end, what do I want to achieve? Because each style can influence in a different way depending on how you do it. I've tried to give some sort of broad indications of what they can do, but I'm sure, like you suggested, if there was more research into this and more people were using these ideas, then we could get a better insight into how different styles did impact more on individuals from a physical literacy point of view. So I think it's a good idea, Nicholas.
Hi.
I don't know whether you want to come back to me there.
No,
okay.
Thank you, Nigel. I think we will see each other in the future and discuss this from close.
Happy to,
Please,
I'll be happy to.
I noticed Akis has got his hand up, I think.
Akis, yeah, okay.
Yes. Hello. I would like to ask you, do you think that there is a limitation in the number of pupils participating in the physical education class at school curriculum?
If there's what, sorry, a limit?
A limitation on the number of pupils participating in a class.
I don't know whether you're talking to, so suggesting the trend where there are less pupils taking part. But just from a general point of view, in most countries that I see, most classes have around 30 children in a class. However, when you go to India, there could be 50 to 80 children in a class. And unfortunately, but this is where for me Mosston's kicks in actual fact, you can very much understand why command style is used when you've got 80 children in front of you and very limited facilities. However, I'll turn that on his head, because I've done sessions with children, and if you use some of the problem solving strategies and getting them working in groups, you can have any number of children working. Because you're teaching them in a different way. You're not using that direct instruction, do this, do the other. You're allowing them to find their own time, their own space. So I don't think the number of children in a class does actually affect things. But as teachers, we have to learn how to manage different groups with different equipment in And certainly, you know, I've been to India and it's 45 degrees and you're teaching outside. I've worked in England and it's been -5 and it's snowing and you're teaching outside. So you have to manage all those situations.
Thank you.
Mark's got a question by the look of it.
Thank you, Nigel, for your presentation. That was great. Just a comment, it's what I really liked here today was how you provided some very concrete examples of the association that exists between physical literacy and the instructional framework, the spectrum of teaching styles. Just awesome. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for taking your time to do this with us today. I think there's a lot to be had from this presentation.
Mark, it's an absolute pleasure. And again, I'm looking at Min and Robin, and I know when I was out in Taiwan last year, or was it this year? I can't remember. No, it was this year, wasn't it? Time flies. No, it was last year. It's just so nice to be able to share Mosston's work and relate it through physical activities. So I usually do practical sessions, and then I talk about how the strategy can then impact from a physical literacy point of view. Obviously, we're limited to time here, but I think the beauty of doing it in a practical situation, I can see Shraddha nodding there, because I did it in India at her university with about 120 students. And by doing it practically, I think it's even better, Mark. And it is actually, you know, perhaps this is something Mosston's organization could think about, is producing videos where the examples of the strategies are used with different groups in different situations, but the responses and the impact relative to physical literacy could be then explained through, you know, throughout the video. So
right. Thank you
something
again.
to think about.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have any question anymore? Okay. If no any question, I thank you all again for your presentation and the participation. Okay. I have learned a lot today and look forward to your participation in next section. Our message, our section information is put on the message column. So, hi, Autumn. Is anything else to announce? Or Mark?
The one thing to remind everybody about is the application deadline for our 2024 research grant is March 30th. So please, if you would like to apply for one of our 5,000 USD grants to do research on the spectrum of teaching styles, you can find more information on our website, including the application packet. But yes, again, the deadline to apply is March 30th.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, Nicholas. Anything else? Anything else?
No,
Okay.
no.
No.
I mean,
Okay, thank you. If
okay.
no, I think I want to end the second section of our 2024 workshop series. Thank you all again, and have a nice day and a cheerful weekend. Okay, bye.
All the best,
Have a
everyone.
nice weekend, you all.
Have
Yeah.
a wonderful weekend, everybody. I
Yeah,
hope to
yeah.
see you all on April 5th.
Yeah. Hi, Nigel. Hope
Bye.
see
Bye-bye.
you
Hope to see you all.
Taiwan very soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully
You
soon.
look good. Yeah. You look good. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.